Hey everyone, Christian here, and we are at Premier Palms, and I want to do a video on just how difficult it can be to identify Copernicias by species, at least at this age. These are all in 25 gallons for the most part, and there are certain ones which are a little bit of a giveaway, and some are just quite difficult, and I don't like giving out direct species unless I'm 100% sure. So I'll show you characteristics that will help you identify certain Copernicias, and some that will kind of, you're not really sure what to expect. So here is a line of, 3 rows, about 25 plants each, and this row is going to be the easiest to identify. So one of the easiest to identify Cuban Copernicias is macroglossa, which is here the petticoat palm. So the Cuban petticoat palm, that is. What you're going to look for is there's absolutely no petiole. And these are all going to be these are all full sun grown. So in full sun, macroglossas have no petiole whatsoever. There's no branching going on, and the new spears are coming straight up. And the base, you can see, it's just these have been a little bit trimmed up, but they are, just right up against the base. So you can see you can kind of check them out. There's one right there. And there's a couple more that I'll go by, but these are by far the easiest Cuban Copernicias. These are Copernicia albas, and they're of the silver type. Their alba and pernifera are easy to distinguish from the other Copernicias. These are South American ones. The Cuban and Hispaniolan ones are going to be the much harder ones. You can see these kind of grow and look similar to Livistonas or Sables, obviously with very spiny petioles, but they stand out. They have deep segmentation in the leaflets, and they will grow much faster, and their petioles are quite long, and they just don't have that flatness, which I'll kind of explain when I get into some of the other Cuban ones. But there's a whole row going all the way across here. So this one here is actually the only species that is the only one of this species in all these rows. This is Copernicia gigas. So if you look at the petioles here, they are quite skinny for the size of the plant. They're very upright, and the frond itself, it doesn't really have the angle, the amount of angle that this frond goes is less than 180. It's more like 120. And so that's more of a distinguishing characteristic. It's going to have armament that's very fine. These teeth are a lot smaller than, say, fallaensis or baileyi. I'm kind of comparing everything to fallaensis and baileyi because those are the most difficult ones to tell apart. So you can see, and it doesn't have a flat petiole. It's kind of curved here, and it's a little bit dangerous even putting it. Those are razor sharp. If you touch them and you run your finger the wrong way, they will draw blood. So here we have a definite hybrid. You can see these leaves are quite glossy. They have a sheen to them. They're very green, and they're droopy, which you will never find in a Cuban Copernicia. You won't find in baileyi and fallaensis. Some Cuban Copernicias do have more of a droopy leaflet at the end, especially after the segmentation. But this is definitely a hybrid with probably baileyi and hospida. It's known as X textilis. It's called that because it's often used to make roofs, and it's a naturally occurring hybrid within, let me get back here a little bit, within Cuba. So I'm gonna get back to perfect magnification. And then we run across the rest of these 2 rows here, which can be quite difficult. So when distinguishing baileyi from fallaensis, now these are not tagged because these were gotten as seedlings that were mixed baileyi and fallaensis. Both were of pure origin. So some of these are actually going to be gigas. There's a couple others, but I'm going to focus on the baileyi fallaensis row here. And we're going to start with one that I can tell you is fallaensis. So we have, I'm going to go down here a little bit because it's the best example is at the end here. Or at least one of the better examples. So with fallaensis, the one thing you're looking for at this age is going to be this orange base. This orange coloring, especially a deep orange, is definitely more of a sign of a pure fallaensis. The color of the fronds does not make that much of a difference. There are silver baileyis and green baileyis. There are silver fallaensis and there are green fallaensis. So just because it's silver doesn't make it a fallaensis. You're going to look for the widest, flattest petiole. Now these are not that wide, so this is a little bit harder to see. And typically fallaensis will have not much of a line going down from their armament. Their armament is not as gnarly as baileyi usually, but that can differ. That's what makes this so difficult. The fronds look, they can all look almost identical. There's some silveriness going on down the line there, but if we go to one that is more baileyi-like, I can kind of give you an example of the difference. So if we go find a good one here. Okay. Okay, so with this one here is likely baileyi, and the reason being is that, see, the armament is a little bit gnarly. It almost looks like a shark's tooth. The petiole, the arming on the petiole, and it kind of goes, it goes upward towards the frond, but it's a little bit irregular. The actual petiole should be not as wide and big as a fallaensis at the same age. Now, these are different ages, so it may seem like this one's actually larger than that fallaensis, but this one's actually a little bit bigger in size. And this black line here is more typical on baileyis. The petiole looks like all one piece here, where on some other ones, for example here, which is likely a fallaensis, you see more of the orange at the base, and the petiole color is not black the entire way up. More regular armament, but still kind of gnarly. Again, very difficult to tell. Fallaensis is always going to have a wider, broader leaflet. See how wide the petiole, everything about it's going to be wider and larger. You have a wider, broader petiole there. You have a wider segment, wider frond, and the segmentation usually is not as deep. Fallaensis will tend to have more segments per frond as a mature plant than baileyi would. So if you can take all of that in, start to identify baileyis and fallaensis, you can start working with that. This is one of the most difficult things to do in the Copernicia world, is identifying the difference between baileyi and fallaensis, and sometimes other species as well. So I don't like to give a definitive answer until they get much larger, but those are the things we're starting to look at when you are looking at plants of this size. So this is going to be likely baileyana, not much orange. That petiole's black, the darkness is continuous. And the other frond has a little bit deeper segmentation going on there, pan out a little bit, versus that fallaensis, which the segmentation was more up here. But again, they can be of different sizes, so it can just be very difficult to distinguish them at this age. So people will ask me to ID Copernicias, and that's the most difficult part, is really giving specific answers. I would like to wait a little bit longer. We'll probably see these grow in time, and hopefully we can properly ID these in a few more years. So I know a lot of people in the comments are going to say, oh, this is definitely a baileyi, that's definitely a fallaensis because of this, and it's just not true. There's no way to ID them unless you've gotten the seed from Cuba, have them all properly labeled, and you can be 100% sure at that time. And don't lose them or switch them or weed them out and put them in another plant, because that's just, you're just joking yourself at that point. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel and like to see more plant palm content like this, consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification. I do go live a lot. If you have questions about Cuban Copernicias, leave it down below, and I will get back to you guys as soon as I can. And thank you for watching.